Okay, good morning, everyone. I think we can start. It's 1 minute past 10, so we try to stay in 1 hour, but there are a lot of interesting topics that we will cover today. I welcome all the participants. Thanks for registering, and I welcome the speakers. We have a very nice panel of speakers that accept our invitation. I'm sure they will give a very interesting contribution on the discussion of this webinar. I would like to invite to present the speaker, first of all. So we have on the top left corner, Kirsten Wirk, that is the project coordinator of the TETRA project. There is us, we will moderate, and we are from FBA and we are partners of TETRA projects. So we moderated the webinar. Then we have Jim Clark that represents NGI Atlantic. Then we have Monique Callisti that is from NGI for All. Then we have Mirko Ross that is an expert on artificial intelligence, IoT, and security, and represent NGI Pointer. Then we have Eva Stefanik that represent NGI Explorers. Then we have Esther Liquori that is a founder and CEO of Ghostwriter AI and is an ambassador of NGI. Then we have Katia Bego that is represent NGI Forward. And then we have Bob Gudrian. I hope this is the right pronunciation of the last name. They represent NGI Zero Discovery and NGI Zero Pet. So let's start. And I think the first thing I would like to give the floor to Kirsten so that we'll explain what TETRA is about. Just a second, I'll start to share the screen. Okay. Okay, and Kirsten, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Luis. Hello from my side. My name is Kirsten, as Luis already mentioned, and I'm the coordinator of TETRA project. So TETRA is a business accelerator for the NGI beneficiaries. And so this means that all the projects who get funded by Next Generation Internet Initiative can benefit from TETRA's different services, such as this webinar that is happening together with all the other webinars that we also organize throughout the summer period. Then we organize 6 boot camps, and the first boot camp will take place this September in Tallinn, in Estonia. And bootcamp applications are already open, and you are all welcome to apply and participate. And just get more information on our website, www.business.ngi.eu. And during this bootcamp, you will receive training on different topics, such as investment readiness, intellectual property, sales and new markets, leadership skills, and much more. And during the bootcamp, we also offer coaching. And there is also a part where we train your pitching skills, and selected teams after the bootcamp will also get an individual mentor who will then work with them throughout the period of time that is 6 months. And this also prepares the teams for the second bootcamp that will take place in spring 2021. So for the first bootcamp, we are expecting those teams whose technology readiness level is below 6. So there should be quite many of you who would be benefiting a lot from our bootcamp and mentoring services. So just go to our website, fill in an application. It won't take longer than 20 minutes. And yeah, join the bootcamp and get a mentor. And we will help you connect with investors and corporations who will help you scale your business. And that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. Before we start, I would like to share a video that will put you in the mood of the topic we are discussing today. So let me.
We fell asleep in one world and woke up in another. Suddenly Paris and Rome are no longer romantic, New York no longer stands up, the Chinese wall is no longer a fortress, and Mecca is empty. Hugs and kisses suddenly become weapons, and not visiting parents and friends becomes an act of love. The world continues its life and it is beautiful. It only puts humans in cages. Planet Earth is sending us a message: you are not necessary. The air, the earth, the water and the sky without you are fine. When you come back, remember that you are my guests. This forced arrest pushed us to drastically rearrange our lives. We are learning to live with less, to appreciate what surrounds us, instead of always running against time. We are experimenting new ways of communicating, working, having fun. When the emergency will be over, it will be necessary to be proactive, to transform uncertainties into opportunities, critically analyzing what has happened and what has failed, with great attention to the risks. We must be concrete but visionary. This is our chance to paint a blank page, to contribute to the creation of a more sustainable way of living, to rethink and design the most responsible and fair future, together. You can take me down.
Okay, I hope you could hear the video, because I couldn't check if it was okay. So this is basically, this was you know, just to get in the mood of the day. And so we'll start with the presentation. This is the overview. I think Susanna can give you the overview of the day.
Yes, so what we want to talk about, first of all, we are here because the world changes, we have seen from the video. And now what we would like to do today is to, let's say, launch a reflection to try to bridge what are the NGI mission, what are the NGI values with the rapid evolving needs and megatrends of the post-COVID society. The society is changing a lot. We need to really reflect and to try to take this opportunity to do something new, something better. And we already discussed with our speakers, with our experts in the last days to prepare what we will share today. And a lot of interesting insights already emerged, because really NGI can be one of the main drivers to let's say, support this transition in the way we as Europeans would like. And there is a big opportunity, of course, for visionary startup researchers and developers to be in the center of this change.
Okay. So first of all, we want to know each other. So we ask the participants to take the cell phone or a laptop or whatever and connect to menti.com. and type the code 813685. Okay. Okay.
The code is,
Just a second.
code again. So first of all, we would like.
Do you see the? Oh, see, yeah. Sorry. I think the code is this one. Okay, 75105.
The code is this one is 7510 and 5.
Okay, so basically we want to know first who are you, so what you represent. So NGI RIA CSA is of course the project that we have, and the speakers are from there. If you are beneficiary of NGI calls, public institutions, so the EC or some other public institutions, a lot of others I see, and a lot of SMEs, startups, freelance, and researchers. They are not connected basically with the NGI. Okay.
Or at least they would like to be. So it's a good opportunity also to learn what can be offered by all the projects that are here presenting, because NGI offers really a lot of great opportunities, not only to be part of the community, but also to receive funding, to receive money, to receive mentoring, to receive assistance, and to be really part of this change. So this is one of the reasons why we are all here.
So we are 39 participants, I guess. We are 33. Somebody is still answering. 33.
Okay, so we also have 2 public institutions, 6 others. Okay, I think we can go to the next one.
So let's go to the next one. And so your country. Let's see if somebody answer. You go to the next one.
Yeah, I answer, but okay.
Oh,
Italy, that's me probably.
Italy, Slovakia, Poland, Greece, a lot of Italians, huh?
Belgium, also Serbia, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, Switzerland. It's always nice when this appears in the middle of the screen, because we start to see you somehow, although unfortunately we cannot have all of you in the same room, but we are here connecting. Okay, 30, 31, I think more or less we can go to the next.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to back to our presentation. I will just really quickly touch a few points of what is next generation internet. Of course, Monique will go more deep than me. I just want to share what are the values, what are the main concept beyond NGI. As you know, NGI started pretty recently, and between 2016 and 2017, there was this consultation to really understand what people would like from internet in the future. And of course, some themes that we will touch during the discussion were central, and they are even more central now. For instance, the fact that the citizens should have the ownership of their own data, and privacy is in the center of this question. Centralization of data in few proprietary platforms is not welcome, but also internet should really support the diversity, pluralism, contribution of everybody, and then inclusiveness, participation by everybody, and transparency for everybody. So next generation internet basically aim at building a human-centered internet that respects the fundamental value of privacy, participation, and diversity. And therefore, there is an entire ecosystem that is supporting this to really build altogether an internet that is offering new functionalities to support people's needs and address global sustainability challenges, because next generation internet is really, really linked to sustainability. So the values, NGI values. Internet should be more human-centric, should support the values of openness, decentralization, inclusiveness, and protection of privacy. The control should be back to the users that are, again, the owner of their data and of their power. And internet should be transparent, intelligent, and should support the greater involvement and participation of everybody, including, I mean, the ones that are typically out of the loop. And then, of course, and this is something that emerged a lot in this period, the internet should be open, but also robust, interoperable, and supportive of social innovation. So society, again, in the center. So now we are getting into the discussion. So what has been the contribution of internet during the world lockdown, Luis?
Yes, so we would like to ask you again, what are the sectors that are using more the internet? So I'll go back to
Menti.com.
Menti. And we ask the participant to express their.
I remember you the code 75105. So what are the sectors, in your opinion, that really used more internet?
So example, okay, academia, education, healthcare, industry. Okay, education, of course, with the schools, with the lockdown, education has become something really important. Industry. E-marketplaces, this is interesting.
All sectors is one of the superhero. Industry, business, smart working, shopping, but some are similar teleconferencing. So there are some that are part of, we will of course put all this contribution together so you will be able to go back.
I see a growing number of participants. We're at 52 probably.
So by 52 probably is the
because they can do it more than one. Okay, industry. Okay, I think we can stop and go back to the presentation.
Yeah, there are some contributions that are related to work, related to leisure. There is yoga, there is video games. I've seen there are several. So basically.
Okay, so we'll let's start to talk. You know, to introduce the discussion that the speaker will present. We start with the megatrends. So megatrends are impacting the post-COVID-19 society as a global threat, but they're unfolding also opportunities and you know, pave the way for innovation, new partnership and structural changes. This pandemic will change the way we do business, structure our society, run our government, the way we work, collaborate, consume, spend, travel, and educate ourselves. So these slides come from the Copenhagen Institute for Future Study, and it's very interesting. And in the presentation, there is a link down here where you can download the entire document. And they identified this, let's say, global mega trends that usually have a lifetime of at least 10, 15 years, from the COVID up to the post-COVID society. So I just grabbed some, you know, some questions that for some of these mega trends that I think are the most relevant to the NGI. So from technological development, will we see the end of cash as COVID-19 spreads? Will we test blockchain solutions for elections to avoid crowding? Will autonomous vehicle be tested for delivery in quarantine zones?
The drones, for instance.
Yeah, for the drones, for example. Jumping to democratization, that I think is another very important point. Will we allow substantial surveillance if it can curb such pandemics? Will individual privacy and ethics put aside during the emergency? This is another important and hot topic. Going to knowledge society, will university be replaced by on-demand online education? Or will our ability to work remotely reshape our future need for office space? So I just put on the table some of these questions, and now I leave the floor to the experts so that they will probably touch some of these mega trends with their presentation. So I will start with the first one, Monique Callisti. So Monique, the floor is yours. So just tell me when I have to switch the slide.
You are muted.
You have to unmute your phone, your microphone.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself quickly. I'm Monique Callisti, and I'm the CEO of Martel Innovate. We are an SME based in Switzerland. And I'm also the NGI Outreach Office Director. I've been involved in the NGI since before its official start. As you might know, there were several initiatives that somehow injected into the next generation internet. And for me, it's a great honor to be here today with you guys and share a little bit our experience and our view on this. So I would like to thank the organizers. Thanks a lot. And I would also like to thank all the participants that will dedicate a little bit of their time today with us. So my point, we can go to the next slide, please. It's to tell you a little bit how the communication has been impacted and possibly how the communication is impacting the evolution of the NGI in relation to what has happened in the last couple of months. So first of all, everything has changed. But a few things, at least in terms of NGI, have stayed very strong and very much the same, which are the values of the NGI. And the communication has been acting directly according to the values of the NGI. And in particular, I can say that the communication has been timely. We have reacted immediately. We have been on the wave of the COVID situation, given that, as you know, the internet, when the world goes digital, represents really the backbone not only of our economies, but of our society. And the communication has been intense. A lot of, also hidden, not just the communication that you or that the external world have seen, but as all of you have experienced, a lot of conf call, video calls, emailing, whatever went digital, and our communication needed to adapt to that. It has been very authentic in the sense that there is a strong feeling of empathy that I think has been growing within our contents and communication. It's more human, which is totally in line with the idea and the ideal of building an internet of human. And I can say also, as I will show you in a couple of minutes, that we've been quite far-reaching. Probably, as you might have read already, a lot of people have spent many more hours, much more time on the internet connected to their devices, and they've been exposed to a lot of information and a lot of digital communication, which has also created for the NGI a bigger visibility on a number of channels. If you can move to the next slide, Louis. So the first impact has been that, of course, as all of you have experienced, the live events have stopped. And we don't know yet when they will restart, at least for big crowds. On the other hand, what we have seen is the proliferation of virtual events. And we had a number of NGI webinars, we had a number of calls, we had a number of video clips going out. And I think we have reacted very quickly and adapted very quickly to this new situation. I mean, today's is a great example. I'm very glad to have seen this also very interactive approach to engage the audience and keep the audience alive. Come on, let's say that we are fed up with all these video calls that we have every day. It's tiring. It's, you know, it's not like if we're together. On the other hand, that's the way it goes for the time. And I think we did great, and I think many people did great, starting from our kids that had to adapt to a totally new environment for their own schooling. If we can move to the next slide. But we also tried, so on the NGI outreach office front, what we have also tried is to make sure we would voice the innovators and the researchers and the people working for this internet to be better. And when we say better internet here, as already the previous speaker said, it's really much about giving access, giving trusted and secure access to a world that we are delegating so much of us. We're delegating the education of our kids, our health care. A lot goes via the network. And what NGI has been doing, it's very much a direct fit to the major needs of the COVID situation. So we have voiced in particular some of the innovators working on tools that can be used to support digital education, protection of children online, but also tools for remote working. Next slide. Here I wanted the numbers to speak a little bit because I think it's also an indication for who's doing our work to see whether we have managed to reach people. Actually, we published a news about NGI COVID, NGI tools against COVID, and the 10% of the overall visits, unique users that have visited the portal went in on this news. And we had a press release translated in several languages, and the downloads were more than 400, which I think is pretty indicative that there's been a momentum growing around tools that can help with internet consumption. Next. Finally, also, we've been very active on the front of Twitter, probably you guys as well. And the NGI related news have definitely increased impressions, momentums, engagements. Of course, now you can say, okay, while at the beginning everybody was looking for news about COVID-19 and everybody used and still uses, if I can say, COVID-19 as a buzzword to attract, from a marketing point of view, the audience. On the other hand, we have also to pay attention not to be one of the many voices out there. Next. What we did was also to look at how the press engaged with NGI related news, which is a very good indicator. We've started contacting selected journalists across a number of countries, and we have reached the national media presses in several countries. This is still ongoing. There is a lot of potential for growth, but I think it gives a good feeling of the fact that also general press and not necessarily technical press is looking more and more at digital innovation as one of the core elements that our society needs to continue working. So overall, I think what's a couple of words to conclude my intervention is that clearly to have internet access in these emergency situations, it's key. To have a secure and trusted internet access is even more important when we start to learn, access government, public services, but also healthcare services. And the values of NGI, as it was stressed already at the beginning, are there to stay. So what it's clear is that we had a highlight moment. So for the NGI, the all attention generated on the internet, of course, meant there is an increase of attention also on the NGI. Now, what we have to make sure is that we continue voicing the innovators, that we continue voicing the people that are also in need of a better internet. So we have to be capable of listening, first of all, and voicing. And this is a little bit the mission of the NGI Outreach Office. Of course, we don't work alone. We work with all of you. And there's several pointers on the NGI.eu website. You can find many ways you can reach us. So please do so, and we will try to voice you or listen to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Monique. I think it was a very insightful intervention. I think this will push the conversation on the second part of the webinar. Okay, let's go to the next one. There is no presentation for Bob Goudrian. So the floor is yours, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me is the first question that
yes, we can.
You're supposed to ask. All right, let me give you a quick intro. My name is Bob Goudrian. I'm the Managing Director of NLNet, and NLNet Foundation is a small public benefit organization with quite a proud history in the internet. Back in the 1980s, scientists and engineers from working from Amsterdam with some counterparts from the European Unix groups built together EUnet, which was the start of the European internet. Since 1997, NLNet is solely focused on funding independent researchers and developers to work on the internet. These guys work in public interest, and they always work with open standards, open source, and open hardware. For the next generation internet project, we are coordinators in two projects. The first one is NGI Zero Search and Discovery, and it's basically how do we search for information and how can we make information more easily found. We feel that search should not be a gatekeeper or a black box or a privacy nightmare, but you should really be able to find the information that you need and that you want. The second project we have is NGI Zero Privacy Enhancing Technologies. And it's about reliability, confidentiality, integrity, and security, which should be the new normal in the internet. And something that ordinary users should not have to worry about. And trust is the key word in that. It's one of the key drivers for the next generation internet. How are these things tied into this whole COVID situation? Well, many of us are currently working from home to slow down the COVID-19 pandemic. And as it so happens, the NGI initiative develops and promotes a lot of open source tools which are perfectly suited for situations like this. Some examples, video conferencing. I also saw a link in the previous presentation. For example, Silk Server or Jitsi are a perfectly end-to-end encrypted means to have a video conference. Instant messaging and chat, for example, Delta Chat, Manyverse, or Briar, are very good alternatives for WhatsApp. What we also see is a huge increase in the use of collaborative office tools. And in that regard, I would like to mention CryptPad, in which you can really work together simultaneously, so that works really well. Another thing that's quite important in this time of age is secure remote access, or VPN. And in that regard, the next generation internet, NGI Zero, we have funded, for example, WireGuard, which is by now accepted in the Linux kernel. So that's quite a success as well. The new normal, as we refer to it in the Netherlands, will mean that we won't be commuting as much as we used to, even after COVID has gone. And working from home and learning from home are not going away. And we think that's a good thing, both for the people working from home as for companies, as for the environment. Let me see. I have some time left, I guess. Huh? If I have some time left, then I would like to tell you a little bit about a side project that we are currently setting up on request of the European Commission, and that we need the help of the NGI community with. In a crisis situation like the current COVID-19 pandemic, a large array of technologies is being proposed as immediate interventions, often with a healthy dose of techno-optimism. And as an example, I'd like to mention the tracing apps that are being discussed in a lot of European countries. From a policy angle, there's quite a chaos of partially overlapping projects with all kinds of claims and strong opinions. And we all know it's difficult for politicians and decision makers to responsibly deal with such emergency situations without proper facts on the table. And this is not just a business pitch or procurement when all we do is lose money, but the wrong choice could have major consequences for the society. And experts have been warning us over and over again for this. And that's why we are setting up the reviewfacility.eu, which is intended as a community-focused effort to create as much transparency as we can about emerging technologies and these type of tracing acts. And we have designed it in such a way that anyone can contribute to it. And we seek to involve both upstream and adjacent communities, but move forward with what we got. For example, we show how it's done by performing expert analysis by security companies, and the review facility is completely open. So while a security quick scan or review is ongoing, anyone can join in on a live chat or follow what is happening and contribute. And the knowledge base is also open for community editing. It's all being done in a wiki environment. I think this is a very good opportunity for the NGI community to show what we can do together if we work together. And I'd like to give a first reaction as well to a few of the megatrends that have been mentioned before. As we hear quite often nowadays, it said, never waste a good crisis. And I think we must be aware of our governments, and that we shouldn't give in too easily to give up our democratic or individual rights. And it's maybe a good idea, or it might seem like a good idea to give up cash money, but think what that would do to your privacy. I think don't think that's a good idea, but maybe we can come back to that in our second session. I'd like to keep with it. Thank you.
So thank you, Bob. Very interesting, especially that the technical review facility. I think the European Commission is really pushing a lot on it, and I think it's a very great initiative. So next speaker.
Maybe you can put the link, Bob, in the chat so everybody can go and have access. Is it already active? The link?
Yeah, we'll do that. No, it's going to be active this week. So we're currently testing it, and it will be active by the end of this week.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So Eva, floor is yours. Next speaker from NGI.
Okay, very unexpected order. So again, good morning, welcome everyone. First of all, thank you so much again, also from my side, for organizing this webinar. Please tell me if you're gonna hear any background noise, because someone just started to do some reconstruction. So I have the headphones just in case.
No, I don't
Yes, so again, exactly, my name is Eva Stefanik. Normally I work and represent the F6S. F6S is a Founders Grows Together. It's like a worldwide biggest house for the startups, the biggest platform with more than 3 million of accounts registered. And we are trying to connect the startups with the right founders. So if there are so many startups today with us, I strongly encourage you to register on F6S. And beyond that, of course, I'm coordinating the NGI Explorers program. The NGI Explorers program is a program that's launching top innovators and top researchers for the technology expedition to the United States. And as you can only imagine, it is very challenging now for the project to run those activities, given that it's impossible to travel across the ocean at the moment, at least. So of course we have to come up with innovative solution how we can really continue the collaboration with the United States partner and make it valuable for our funded third parties. So if we can go for the next slides. What I understood, I was asked to provide certain insights concerning the mega trends, as that was the topic of the first session. So I just, Luis, we use exactly the same source of information. It's good. I am a former researcher, so it's always really good to rely on other people that dedicate their really time and provide us with certain data that we can be sure it's sound and robust and we can share with you. So what I put here is just to, if you're gonna look also in the report that Luis already mentioned, it's an institute in Copenhagen, very interesting. I encourage everyone to check on the future studies. But nevertheless, here we can see that, of course, COVID situation, COVID-19 pandemic, we can understand who are the guilty ones. So there are some mega trends that really put us in the trouble, so to speak, like, for example, globalization, like the demographic development and overall economic growth, of course. But now we can also see other mega trends that can really save us, that can weather the storm, as we can speak so. And these were identified by the researcher as the knowledge society, as the technology, of course, technology development, as the network society, democratization and immaterialization. They are very strongly. Are you sure you don't hear the noise? Let me take the headphone because I really hear. Okay.
No, but your voice is louder, so yes? No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Let me try if you're gonna go work better with the headphones. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Better?
Yes,
yep.
better.
Okay, I hope it's gonna be better. Sorry for that. So yes, I was saying. So what we, especially within our consortium NGI Explorers, we see that we perfectly fit into those new not new, but ongoing mega trends that are highlighted now as the ways of opportunities, how to really handle with the post-pandemic situations. Of course, the COVID really encourages and magnifies the urgency for certain development of the smart and sustainable infrastructure for economies. And that's how we see our contribution. So, of course, the knowledge society, we already know that the information is the most important factor for production, while knowledge is the most powerful factor and producer of wealth. And we, within the NGI Explorer, within the NGI Express, within the NGI initiative, it's as the whole, we have we've been funding plenty of top mindset, top innovators, top researchers with those extraordinary ideas related with the internet. So how we can really support now the government, the business, all the parties, all the stakeholders that are currently really in need for the digital connectiveness, and secure them with that trust and openness and democratization that also Monique was referring to, and Bob. So I was asked to really come up with the one example. That's what I also understood. You cannot really see on the slide, but if there are any of you from Poland, if not, you may have not heard, but there was something controversial that happened recently in Poland regarding the COVID-19. That is, the Polish government developed and set up an application, an app that's supposed to track your moves when you are assigned to be quarantined. And this should allow the government to know your location and to be sure that you really you oblige, of course, with the quarantine rules. And this was also a support measure for the police officer to limit, the daily visits. In Poland, we are very restricted. So if you are really in quarantine, that means you are very bad, in a bad luck, because the rules are very strict. So you really could not move, even you couldn't put your foot out of your door. So, but the application was set up, and it created a lot of controversy, as you can imagine. Created a lot of discussion concerning legal and ethical issues of this application. Main concern were, of course, regarding the data, the privacy, who is the owner, how long the government's gonna keep our data, how the data will be used, etc., etc. Many questions popped up without answer. This is a very spontaneous development. There was a survey conducted among the polls, and you could really hear the voices pro and the voices against. Some people were referring that this is a really a good opportunity if we can really, flat the curve or really control the number of incidences. But the other people were saying that this is not done in the most secure way for us. What about our rights? So what I see, why I'm referring to this example, this is exactly the potential role for us, for the NGI, where we can really set up certain standards. How we can really secure that, especially European citizens, their rights are secured. That there are certain standards that all governments are obliged to run. So I found this example as very interesting. And I don't know, I would keep the other part concerning the NGI Explorers opportunities maybe for the second part, to keep the time for the other speakers.
Yeah, probably this is more on the second part. Okay, Eva, thanks a lot for your speech. So we go to the next one. Jim, it's your turn.
Thank you, Lewis, and thank you for the invitation to be with you today. My name is Jim Clark from the Waterford Institute of Technology in Ireland, and I'm the coordinator of the NGI Atlantic.eu project. There are 5 partners in total in the project: Waterford IT, Trust IT from Italy, Euroscom in Germany, and Rutgers University in New Jersey, USA, and the University of Utah in the USA. So I've focused my presentation mainly on the technological developments angle from the megatrends that have emerged in the last 2 months. And I've, excuse me, I've attempted to align these with our open call, first open call topics, whose deadline is in about 9-10 days' time. So just some practical examples of how the key enabling technologies can be used to help with the current situation. As was mentioned earlier, with the contact tracing approaches and solutions that are coming up. So looking at how we can preserve the fundamental rights of privacy and data protection of the citizens, and that these applications don't have any scope creep after their use in the current crisis. So this maps quite well with our first call topic. So if you have an EU and US based team, and you want to work on something for this kind of a topic, and run some experiments on this, so this would fit quite nicely within our first call topic, which, by the way, our call topics are mapping, you'll notice, quite well with the NGI topics, where there's already some results coming out. So from the research and innovation action projects that have started a year and a half ago, such as the NGI Zero projects that Bob just presented, and also the other ones, Ledger and NGI Trust. Then for the data science approaches, the EU and the US are already working together on crunching some big data in relation to health. It started out, first in the EU earlier, and then the US started working on it, and now they are working together on these. So this raises some challenges and issues related to how the data is presented, whether it's centralized or decentralized, the portability of the data for sharing purposes, the privacy aspects of this, and bringing healthcare more into the online world. So, looking at availability of hospital beds and things like that, using some sort of artificial intelligence solutions, and then to attain the trust that's needed. We have to recognize that AI and humans need to work hand in hand, so that people can trust it. So these kind of topics would fall quite nice in the second call topic, decentralized data governance. So focusing more on the ethical, legal, privacy issues in terms of the data science. Okay, then the third one would be use of AI for a wide variety of things, such as tackling misinformation and hate speech during crisis, prediction-based treatments based on large data sets of symptoms and treatments response, the scanning of scientific literature in efforts to find effective treatments, and monitoring infection rates and trends, and many others. So these fall within the third call topic, the discovery and identification technologies. So looking at better search and discovery technologies. Okay, next slide, please. So just a bit more detail on the values themselves. So as already mentioned earlier, the accessibility. So the technology should be accessible to all in an affordable way. They should be inclusive, and for this, the NGI teams are working with all of the diaspora of communities to ensure that different needs and contexts are catered for by the technologies developed. Ethics by design, so having ethics built in all design stages in the development of AI, and there's already some very good work by the high-level expert group on artificial intelligence. And there's links here on this work, and this is ongoing work where there's a piloting process and a toolbox being developed to ensure that the design process, the privacy and data protection is adhered to, ensuring who can see and use the data and for what, and looking at these issues and values related to inclusivity, preventing discrimination, etc. There's a strong need for both the technologists and the policy and decision makers to work together in a balanced way to build a green and digital future we want to have post-COVID-19. There's a need to upskill the communities so they can use the technologies to address the problems. And there's some very interesting resources on the European Commission recommendation on a common union toolbox for the use of technology and data to combat and exit from the crisis, available here, and some more specific material on contract-based things. So this is looking at whether these are fully compliant with the EU data protection and privacy rules, and also based on the current health information from the various bodies. So I didn't focus too much on our open call details, but there's a link here and a link to our site. So please visit, and if you have collaborators in the US, please put in a proposal for our first call. And our second open call will open on the 1st of August, shortly thereafter the closing of this call. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Let's go fast. Unfortunately, we have 5 minutes to 10, so we are of course short in time. So next one is Katia Bego. Katia?
I'm here, so I'll start my
okay.
video again.
Back.
It was glitching
Good.
a bit.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear and see me? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So hi everyone, so I'm Katja and I'm a principal researcher at Nesta, the UK's Innovation Foundation, and I'm also the coordinator of the NGI Forward project. NGI Forward is the sort of policy strategy arm of the NGI initiative. So we help the Commission come up with a policy agenda, a sort of vision for what this more democratic, human-centric internet should be. And as part of that, of course, we do quite a lot of more future-facing work, because we're not just interested in the trends shaping the internet today. We're of course funding programs that might only come into being quite far from now. So what will the world be that we're operating in at that point, right? And kind of what are the sort of technologies, larger dynamics and trends, also social political trends that we need to be aware of now, so that we make sure that the NGI responds to those a couple of years down the line. So that's why I'm quite excited to have this discussion with the larger NGI community, because I think it's very important to have those conversations to understand what we want to move to. So I'll post a link, welcome a link in my slides. We actually wrote quite a long piece with some of the larger trends shaping the internet and how they've been revealed by the COVID-19 crisis. So I'll talk about two of those trends today. But one, I'll go maybe to the next slide so you can see it. But one of those trends that one thing that I think is very interesting that the COVID-19 has revealed is that there are these sort of large megatrends that were already shaping the internet even before this, but you now see them accelerated or kind of play out in a slightly different way in this trend. So, and what's quite interesting too is that it's not so obvious. Like we tend to say, like, oh, well, we see some evidence moving towards a more deglobalized world, for example. But we also see actually quite a lot of evidence for a more globalized world. So these things are often not so clean, and you will probably end up somewhere in the middle. So we see, for example, on the one hand, like sort of large deployment. We talk about contact tracing apps, of surveillance systems in some countries, of a kind of like privacy invasion, building security apparatus to respond to the pandemic. But on the other hand, I think we've also seen more discussions than ever before in the public domain about these privacy questions, right? With the contact tracing apps, you suddenly see governments being forced to grapple with questions about are we going to open sources or not? Like what about decentralizing data storage? These kind of things. So it can work in both directions. So we see sort of rising power of like the existing large tech platforms on the one hand, but we, on the other hand, also see a lot of really interesting grassroots developments. So we don't know where we want to end up, but it's very important to understand how these dynamics might play out so that we can shape it in the direction that we wanted to move to. So I'll keep it quite brief. So now I'll go to the previous slide. I have a bit more to say about that. So that, well, it was anyway just an image, but the previous slide was about the digital divide and sort of rising inequality. And I think this is a good example of how those trends can move in both directions. So I think the COVID-19 crisis has quite made very explicit sort of the kind of how important the digital divide actually is. So most stark is probably the fact that we can all sit here in this call, we can all work from home, but so we as a group quite a privileged group, because the people who cannot work from home, they're more likely to already earn less before this crisis. They're more likely to not have a university degree. The people who can not work from home are, of course, also far more likely to have lost a job in this crisis, and they're far less likely to get a new one moving forward, first data has shown. Then there's also students, of course, like universities and schools now closed. All the students of that cohort for that year period will probably see the impact of that throughout their lifetimes. But it's especially those children, which is very sad and something we'll have to grapple with. But it will particularly be those children who now don't have access to like reliable internet at home, you know, who can't suddenly just move and you know, sit in their study and can listen to online lectures. Those are the ones who will be hit the hardest. And these are the kind of questions that this crisis has revealed. And I think that the mega trend you see in this is that we can kind of again move in multiple directions with this. So on the one hand, you see actually governments and also companies being very aware of this. So probably more than ever before, are many people getting connected? Are we aware that, say, when we deploy something like a health app, that needs to be accessible for elderly people, that needs to be accessible for those who maybe lack the digital skills, because it's not so vital. We've also seen governments, for example, give out laptops, like the programs that have failed a bit in the past, not giving out laptops to children who don't have access. So maybe this is also a moment.
Katja, sorry if I interrupt you, because the time is running. I think this is more for the second part of what you are presenting.
Okay, cool. Also, I thought you were doing the content bit now. Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, now this was done. This will be my only presentation also.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I was just going to leave it at this, but basically this, I'll skip the geopolitics and globalization one, but similar thing that we see. And then if you can just 1 second show the next slide, because this will be this, if you want to read more, we wrote quite a long piece on the project about all of these different dynamics. And if you'd like to have a read, you can have a look there. So that will be it for me. Thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot, Katja. So go to the next one. Mirko, is your turn?
Yes, thanks. So let me present NGI Pointer and what we are doing there. My name is Mirko Ross. I'm one of the project partner from Digital Works. And yes, a big fan of open source communities. And just let me show you all the opportunities of NGI Pointer. So please go ahead, yeah. So first of all, NGI Pointer will support open source projects in 2 open calls. The first open call is now ongoing, so and you have still time to 1st of June to apply for this open call. So if you are an open source project, just have a look on the NGI Pointer website. So what we are looking for, the NGI Pointer is looking for so-called NGI architects. And first of all, then there's a question, yes, what is an NGI architect? Well, we are looking for people and communities who are bringing a really added value support to the underlying fabric of the internet and the web. So this is a really technology-oriented activity, and we are looking really for people who are bringing in new technologies or who are changing or solving problems with existing technologies. So overall, the project will spend up to 5.6 million euros in these 2 open calls. So I think this is really a big opportunity. There are some requirements. Just let's go for the next slide. So one question is, okay, regarding this NGI architects, what are possible target groups we are aiming to support? It's of course researchers, but it's also looking forward for activists. So if you are from the hacker activism space and you are working forward to security or privacy, you're also the scope of the call, and of course all the open source communities with software and hardware developers are addressed. You can apply as an individual, or you can apply as a group, as a SME, or other types of organization. There's only a difference between the fundings we will spend. We have 10 challenges prepared, and I think all these challenges are fitting as well in the post-COVID and the COVID situation. I mean, one challenge is privacy by design. We've seen it at the tracing app discussion. There was a big discussion about privacy by design, and now we see a lot of groups popping up who are proposing, let's say, for example, distributed ways, self-sovereign ways. So there are a lot of topics out there, open source orientated, and let's say also from the activism space or privacy activism space, which will fit perfectly to our open call in privacy and by design. As well, internet at the edge, even the contact tracing app is an internet at the edge application. So this will fit as well. Network optimization, I mean, that's what we have seen now with all the people running into online meetings and stuff like that. I mean, like when Netflix needs to reduce the bandwidth, this was an action of pure activism towards network optimization. This should not be the regular. So if you are working on that, on new technologies, how to optimize the bandwidth, how to optimize resources, just apply for that challenge. Then we have virtualization and isolation. I mean, it's all about container technologies which are going on there. There are also a lot of challenges there. Then we have some basic challenges, as for example, limitation of the TCP/IP protocol suite. just to give you an explanation, I mean, this protocol has been designed in the 60s and 70s, and today we see certain bottlenecks just towards all the internet applications we now have, where we need to rethink how we can fix the limitation of this protocol stack. So if you are, let's say, from that baseline open source area working on such topics, apply on it. Autonomous networks and operations, it's also a topic we see with the networks, for example. Also a great topic, like how to deal with fleets with a lot of participants as well. This is targeting everything what we see now COVID related, like how to share information, individuals' information on what kind of devices and stuff like that. Then we have stuff which is also interesting, I think, for post-COVID, like energy efficiency. We can bring in energy efficiency in systems. Just remember, all the IoT devices, mostly of them are powered by batteries. So we are producing now billions of devices with billions of batteries. And this is an environmental and sustainability problem. Industrial internet security. Hey, in terms of COVID, this has become rather interesting, because we've seen a lot of fraud schemes, a lot of attacks now on industrial players and governments, which are using some simple methods, even like phishing and stuff like that, using the COVID topic. And by that, we are stepping as well in for trust for new internet and web users, because this is also a rather related topic to that. And at least for every project which is interesting, maybe, but has no fitting of these scopes, we have done an open disruption of internet architecture, where you can bring in your project if you think it's not fitting to one of the 9 scopes. So there are some criteria, of course, to be successful. First, the most important criteria, it must be open source. If it's not an open source project, you're not eligible. But the open source world is broad as well, so there's no limitation towards what kind of open source license you are using. So in general, it must be open source.
Maybe Mirko, those details will be available, because we really have.
Yes, I would just skip. I will not give you all, but this open source criteria is the most important criteria. If you're not open source, you're not allowed to apply, or you should not apply. As well, with open source, it means that we expect contributions. So what you are developing, the money we are giving you, you should give it back to somehow to the NGI architecture and even to our world. Next, please. In terms of, this is technical, but we're also looking for personal people. So because we see a lot of open source projects are not progressing because the people in behind don't have the ability to expand their project to make it successful. So we will always also have a look on who are the people in behind. Do they have the potential and the personality to bring an open source project really to a success? So if you're NGI architects, we will have a look, what is your impact as a person as well towards the project, okay? And what you get, it's a 12-month program. You can get up to 200,000 euros funding for your project, which is amazing. This is equity free, and you get additional mentoring support. We limited the funding for individuals to 50K, so 50,000 euros. If you are a group or organization, SME or whatever research institution, it's up to 200,000 fundings. Again, who is eligible? I already said it. And of course, it needs to be one of the institutions, and you need to be part of one of the countries which are in the eligible criteria. So this is the URL to the open call, first open call. Have a look on it, apply on it, and we are looking forward to get, hopefully, your great applications. Thanks.
Thanks, Mirko. Thanks a lot. I think there are a lot of SME and other people that would be interested, also research on this call. Okay, next one is Esther. Esther?
Yes, it's me. Hi. Last but not least, if I'm not wrong, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Esther Licoy. I'm founder of Ghostwriter AI. a platform for marketing purposes that leverages artificial intelligence proprietary system. I'm as well ambassador for NGI project, also because as artificial intelligence system and marketing, where we manage a lot of data, and it's quite important, as also NGI and also European Commission is pointing, is quite important managing in a right way the kind of data that people are leaving behind them, even more in these days of searches and worries and so on. That's why also I'm here for the post-COVID. And if you please can change the slides. Okay, let's have a quick look at what kind of searches people has run in the days of COVID, in the past months. People have, as we said, leave digital footprint. So also in their searching activity, they are leaving their some aspects that are not really completely related to stuffs or things that they quite need, but sometimes also about how they feel, how their worries, how they are emotionally affected by what's happening around them. So please, once again, the slide. What makes a man is a great question about that, and what is impossible reply to with the artificial intelligence. That's because it's more evident, thank you, Luis, for the change, it's more evident from the searches that people are doing. People are, as you know, really being worried about with reason, I mean, with coronavirus, and they searched for help the community, help the elderly, how to volunteer, food donation, local restaurant. These are worldwide searches. This means that people in the global view, even if one by one maybe could be worried by their own driven and worried by their own personal affection, the person how to keep with the parents, how to go ahead with the children at home, how to cut hair without the dresser, and so on. They're also mainly worried by more global aspects that are related to human things. So community, elderly people, volunteer, children, donation, and so on. Please change again, Luis. And if we look a little bit deeply in the searches that have been run in Europe, we can see about 5 megatrends that are what people know. So people at church has searched a lot for improving themselves, improving their knowledge. They looked for how to do something, improving their life, improving their job activities, and so on. And second search has to make how people make a living, so changes in the work and finance, how we can get out from the situation, how we can restart when COVID is going to end, how people feel, so well-being, try to keep fit at home, not to stay all the time on the couch, all the time watching TV, doing some activities that can improve our mindfulness, our wellness aspects as well, and connection with the community. So how to make some party online, how to connect with people that we love online. People learn, so formal and informal webinars, courses, but also how to help children to start their new habits with the school activities in this kind of situation, and how to spend time and money in new ways. So what kind of foods or what kind of stuffs we may need, how to buy them, how to supply these activities, these stuffs without the possibilities of going outside, going out of home and supply themselves by ourselves. Thanks again, Luis. And this is, as said, I ask that I hope I'm not to let you feel too much angry, also by the time, because the time. But I want you consider that even big brands such as Ferrero, Nutella products has tried to change to attract in a different way their consumers, their users, as a matter of fact. These are some marketing activities that Nutella has run on Facebook in the United States. So analyzing people behavior, analyzing people requests, searches, and communication with systems that are related to social monitoring and activities that analyze conversation online. Nutella has find some relation in this kind of conversation. This is really powerful because once, as I said, even if we are not aware of the kind of conversation or the footprint that we leave behind us, marketing activities go ahead. And even in anonymous way, in a statistic way, with big trends, some path, some way of reach us are recognizable. This is not bad. The only thing is that we have to be aware of what we are doing and what we are searching. For example, Nutella has found some trends that suggest the use of Nutella products during the breakfast time, or find that on the contrary, we don't know about that, obviously, because I'm not in a relationship with Nutella directly, but they may have found that on the contrary, people are using Nutella in several ways and they are not covering the breakfast time. So could be a way of understanding the people, listening what our customers, to start again as a commercial activity, listening to our customers' feels, to our customers' searches, to understand how we can provide to be more close to them with what they really feel. Just a quick overview about what happens in Nutella in Italy, for example. Please change once again. In Italy, a lot of people were searching for preparing sweets at home, cakes, bread, something that is related to the cooking activities. So they launched a lot of co-partnership or dedicated posts aimed to those people that are looking for an escape from their current situation, an escape that is a comfortable food, comfort space, comfort activities that make not think about stressful things, but engaging us in something that is sweet and something that is also engage our hands. So a different aspect that involves human activities, handling activities, but also human feel. And also I want to point to the Vasetto challenge, that is a very smart activities that Nutella has run in the period. Please change once again, Luis. Inviting, okay, this was the last one. Yeah, inviting people to use the recognizable shape of the bowl, of the Vasetto, that is something that is really recognizable from Nutella, but not inviting them to go outside and buying the product, but inviting them to canalize, to input their passions, what they feel, their activities inside something that could be related to the brand. So they invited to use the Vasetto of Nutella to doing to express their home activities, how to engage with children, as well as how to gardening using the Vasetto brand. This is a smart way to understand people, to be close to our readers, close to the people, and using in a good way data to get more close and let improve people's life. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. So I think we had a lot of interesting insights from all of you. Now what I would like to do is ask our participant to write freely what they think, how can NGI contribute to redesign the future of the internet. So I will go back to to
Mentimeter.com.
Mentimeter. Sorry for the wrong. Okay, so here you can freely write what you think. How can NGI contribute to redesign the future? Unfortunately, we are pretty out of time, so we will see if something will come up from, okay, facilitating creativity. So it's the first one. We have still 36 participants connected. So I have to say we kept them in the loop for a long time, and they are still interested. So this is good for the webinar. It seems that the topics that we have touched were pretty interesting. So giving opportunities to small companies.
And then what we wanted also to do as a side, let's say, objective of this day is to really give a taste, a first look of what NGI can really do, because there are a number of open calls in different topics. So feel free to really explore and to follow NGI, because really there are a lot of interesting opportunities. So free application developed by the RIAs. The RIAs are some of the projects that you have seen for the ones that are not aware. Help net neutrality, trust, include the end users in shaping future application. This is something absolutely interesting. We already have seen some example of this. The end users are, of course, the ones that should be in the loop. By supporting
the new engine technology.
Okay, and then protect privacy, transparency, trustworthy app, and then set up privacy. So privacy and transparency and security are really, really in the center of the discussion. Standards also, the standards, of course, one of the, I don't remember exactly who was, but this need this need of having a standardization approach that should be followed by all the different countries.
Increase transparency in web applications. Nowadays we will have to do way more telcos and remote activities. So this is, I think, the most...
Yes, infographics. I think that there are also questions that are related to more how NGI works. So like providing some infographics, some information, fact sheets. Okay, social media, the structured services.
Some of the speaker wants to somehow reply to some of these questions, maybe. And we are pretty close to.
Yes. Okay, anyway, because some questions have been about the fact of if this material is available, including the video. Yes, all this material will be available in the NGI page and inside this, this webinar, and also in the TETRA place. Really explore all the opportunities that are offered by NGI, because there are a plethora of opportunities provided by different projects. There are RIA that are providing the funding, but also services. Some CSA that are supporting, even in supporting in business, like TETRA, for instance. Okay, I think we can.
Okay, I think we can. Yeah, we have to close. I think because it's 10:25. Monique, there was this presentation. I don't know if you want quickly to say something on this for the second part, maybe. You have to unmute.
So I just wanted to say that by now probably we lost most of the people. I hope not, but just a couple of things. One thing is clear, that all eyes have been on the internet, literally, and This also created a lot of risks. As you know, there's a lot of risks related to privacy, security, trust. They were already mentioned by my colleagues before, misinformation, and you name it. So what is clear, please next slide, is that even though there is more attention on the NGI, and even though this attention is there to stay, because even though this peak of the crisis might have been already gone, but we don't know what's going to happen next, it's clear that we have a major mission. We need to make sure that we listen to the needs. This was already stressed by some others, and we try to really minimize the gap that there is between the needs of a secure and trusted internet and what is really available out there. In this respect, we have to speak different languages, not only, you know, English, French, whatever, but we have to be able to reach different stakeholders. And I think already today with this webinar, you did a great job. So thanks a lot to the guys of TETRA. And I think we have to continue to push forward the core values that this initiative is trying to incarnate. So I hope that many of the people that participated to this webinar found answers, or at least found some inspiration and some interest to get a little bit closer to the NGI and to be part of it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, just to conclude, turn a challenge into opportunities. I would like to just to end up for the, you know, for the researchers, for the startup that are connected, that I like this you know, a screen mask that was created by Joe Doucet partner that is a very trendy kind of mask. And this is the first point, you know, the necessity is the mother of invention. So by making something, to invent something, you can make, you know, your business growing. So do not just think about all negatives, but continuously innovate. Be resilient, don't be anchored to the paradigm of the past, and reinvent yourself, not resist passively to the crisis. So these are the founded so far project of the NGI initiative, 239. Open calls, the proposal submitted have been 1,062 from 35 countries. This is, you can find the open calls and NGI EU link, all the information, and you can participate to these calls. And so I would like to give the floor to Kirsten, just to end up and close this webinar with the TETRA.
Yes, thank you, Luis.
Yeah.
So if you have received funding, first apply for funding from NGI, and then if you receive funding, then don't forget to apply for our bootcamp, as I already mentioned in the beginning, and also check our website for more information on our upcoming webinars, and follow NGI on Facebook to keep yourself informed. But next TETRA webinar will be held already next week on 27th of May. The topic will be a little bit different from a different angle. So we will introduce 3 different ways to get funds for early stage businesses. That would be angel investors, grants, or crowdfunding. So head over to our website to get more information and register. And you can also write us on info@tetraproject.eu or fill in a contact form on the website. And thank you everybody for very interesting presentations and your contribution to this webinar. And I would also like to thank participants for staying with us until the end. And I hope you will have a great rest of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I would really like to thank our panelists that have been, I think, a really interesting webinar. I hope there will be, you know, other occasion of collaboration and other webinars, because it seems that this is the new trend now, because unfortunately we are locked in our office and houses. So I would like to close here the webinar. Thanks for the participant to stay up to now. I think there are still 36, so it was good. They found it interesting, probably, the webinar. So thanks to all of you, and see you around, I hope.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao a tutti, ciao.